Welcome, Professor Dr. Dhirendra Shukla, Professor and Chair of the Herbert Smith ACOA Technology Management and Entrepreneurship Program at the University of New Brunswick. That's a long title, Dhirendra. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you, Nestor. And I thought my name was long until I joined, until I joined the center and I realized, oh my God, not only is my name long, my title is super long too.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks for accepting joining me today for a brief interview on blockchain. I'm Nestor Gomez, the CTO of the Canadian Food Innovation Network. I'm here with Dhirendra, and we're going to talk about blockchain, everything you wanted to know and more about blockchain. So, Dhirendra, let's go directly into the topic. What is blockchain?
You know, it's an interesting topic because many people there are currently several camps around blockchain. One camp that is super pumped, super excited about what blockchain as a disruptive technology can do, and there are others that are saying, well, there's still lots to be proven out. And then there are others like, oh, there's nothing new in there, right? Like, so you have many people that are sitting on the fence, others that are super pumped. So what does blockchain as a technology? Most people see blockchain and they start saying, oh, it's cryptocurrencies, it's Bitcoin and all of those things. Yeah, I think yes, that's a one way to look at blockchain as a technology. It can morph itself into payments and a payments platform. And a mechanism to do that in a decentralized manner. But blockchain as a technology, what it does provide that is novel, new, and exciting, and why a lot of people are very, very excited about blockchain, is a way for data to be linked together. So it's structured, so it's all the data is linked together and provided on a ledger that you can query. So it's very transparent to the people that have access to it to see the data and in terms of a ledger, who is doing what, where is it going, and provides a in a transparent format for people that are interested in seeing, looking at the data. Am I sure it's the real data? Yes, it is. Am I sure that it actually is transparent? Of course, it's transparent. So people that are really interested in transparency, in data that can't be altered, and protected their privacy perspective, looking at it from an angle that my personal data is protected. Yes, what is happening in an aggregate format might be made available to people to look at data analytics, what's happening, but my data is, and from a private perspective, is protected. So
that's an important point. Sorry for interrupting you. My mind is racing now because this is an important topic, that privacy and security that you referred to. What makes it so safe or secure, blockchain versus a traditional ledger?
So what makes it very exciting is that, if you go to a bank, people might have, that you're at a bank, you have a particular ID, they might be able to, then you have a password. And that private password, you only single-handedly own that private password. So no one connects what is happening on the chain to you as a person. And that is what the privacy of that information does, is that you can, at an aggregate level, look at patterns, what is happening, what are the trends, is this real, is this not real, and disconnect the person or a specific organization from it if you wanted to do that. And that is the unique element, is that it sits there on a chain where you can query how it got there, who did what, and see the real updated information that is, you can believe it is compiled right away, and you can see that it's right there. And then it is also secure, because only people that have access to that private secure password will be able to access that information and make the changes they want to make for themselves.
So can you explain what is the role of cryptography in a blockchain? I've heard a lot about it, but I'm not 100% clear.
So cryptography is primarily a mechanism to keep the data safe and secure. It's a new mechanism to make sure. Cryptography has been around for an extremely long time, is a mechanism to safeguard the data. In simple terms, right? So it's a mechanism to make sure that data is safe and secure where it is located, and then only giving access to the people that should have access to it in a particular way to do only certain things with it. So they can make certain changes, but can't go back and alter previous things and do funny, I came from Nortel Networks that was caught for many years restating accounts to years after years, restating account, going back to their books and changing their books, and it took them forever. Here, there's no way to do that. This is the data as it stands, and this is factual. Boom, done.
That's perfect. So although the data might be exposed in a public ledger, only the owner of that particular piece of data is able to actually read and understand what's in that entry of the ledger. Is that?
And only that person can connect that this data actually belongs to me.
Okay. Yeah. That's very clear. So are there different types of blockchains? You mentioned private blockchains. Are there public or private blockchains? How does that work? So this is what is very exciting. So that as the technology has evolved, and there have been limitations from one blockchain to the others, they have forked and created new blockchains. And some of the blockchains, they get and solve one problem, and obviously, as you go and solve one problem, you realize there's another problem, and someone goes and forms a new mechanism, new way of doing things. So there are ways that people have, what they've done based on your question, when you talk about public and private blockchains, what are the people sometimes call the private blockchain as a closed loop blockchain. Closed loop blockchain, private blockchain is when an organization owns that entire entity and can see and you see what's happening on the blockchain themselves, and can only give access to a limited partners access to what's happening in that blockchain. So that's a closed loop and a private blockchain. And an open loop public blockchain is now you and I can go and see on Bitcoin who's doing what, where is it going, on Ethereum, and begin to figure out, because a lot of their data is publicly available in terms of what is happening, what are the trends, who's doing what. So that is more what you would call an open loop or public blockchain. Obviously, now there are even organizations saying, how do we create a hybrid model that engages and interacts between the two? And that is also happening at this time. Oh, fantastic. That's very clear. So, we operate, when I say we, the Canadian Food Innovation Network, in the ecosystem of food and beverage. So how is blockchain relevant to the food and beverage industry? What type of problems do you see blockchain solving for this sector?
Well, the reality is that any industry that is sensitive to needs and wants of people and society And I consider food to be a critical infrastructure play for any society. Whether it's food, water, healthcare, all of those elements. What does blockchain offer? Blockchain offers the transparency, openness for people to see the chain and the flow of food. Where did it originate from? Where did it go? What happened next? That ownership and the transfer of that entire structure can be implemented and captured on the blockchain in such a way that imagine something went wrong for whatever from a food security perspective, in that chain of command, what happened, who did what, where did things go wrong, and are there other things at risk? It can all be captured on the blockchain in a transparent and a robust manner that is available to anyone interested. So imagine when you talked about the closed loop and the open loop structure, so public blockchain versus private blockchain. Imagine the food industry, like you're saying, you wanted to make people understand what is happening with their food from and where it originated from, how it ended up where it is happening, what are the steps, what are the mechanisms, imagine you wanted to even profile the farmer, for example. You can actually follow that through from a technological perspective. Imagine there was something that became risky. What happened? There was something in that supply chain that went wrong. You now have a mechanism to narrow down where it happened, what was going on, and did it have a domino effect on other food? So you have an ability to figure all of that out.
That's fantastic. That's very promising. All that traceability in the food supply chain is very relevant.
And it's not exactly, and that organization can't go back and to protect their brand and image and go and change their numbers or things like that. It's just there. You can't. It's there. You got to work with it, right?
It is. It cannot be changed if once the data has been registered in the blockchain, it cannot be altered, right?
It cannot be altered, and that's why it's important to make sure that the implementation is appropriate. Right people are involved in the creation and management, and that the follow through of what that quality looks like is implemented by people that understand what is important for the food industry. So rather than take a cookie cut solution and say this should be what you should do from a food perspective, what from a food professional perspective, what are the things that you care and nuances that you worry about, and how do you capture it through the value chain?
I remember this must have been probably 4 years ago or more. IBM came up with a test platform for blockchain in which Walmart was involved and a couple of other companies, large companies, were involved. I remember reading about traceability at that time and kind of an experimental type of solution. Are there any solutions in place today available for the food and beverage manufacturers, distributors, retailers, food service? Do you know of any company involved in this type of solution?
So obviously, some of the things that, for example, what Grey Wolf Analytics is doing, a small plug for the company that I co-founded with Matthew Sampson, who's the CEO. What we built is a platform that looks deep into what is happening on the infrastructure and provides the analytics, provides what are the patterns that are taking place. We provide an analysis of who is doing what. If there's fraud, irregular activities, what does that look like? We have done that for also the energy sector. We're doing it clearly with a larger focus on on the financial sector right now. But why that analytics can't be taken and implemented and understood from a food industry perspective, I don't see why not. And there are people that were during COVID were tracking and tracing on the blockchain COVID vaccines. And if you look at it in terms of vaccines, if that was important, food is also sensitive to temperature, also sensitive to the environment, similar to the vaccine, and a similar solution with the needs and the want and the risks could be implemented for the food industry. And I think Grey Wolf is a great platform that has been able to operate across different verticals. So it could be the place for us to look at and explore, for sure. I want to be careful that I don't overly plug Grey Wolf, but that's something that we have looked at is, from an energy perspective, what are the source of energy? How do you manage that energy? Based on the source of the energy, how do you optimize? How do you transport? How do you deliver that? And we're doing that also similarly to the financial industry, and we can easily create an understanding of what's happening in the food industry if the need, want, and purpose is there.
Got it. That's super interesting, Dhirendra. One last question before we close. I know you're a very busy person, and but I want your recommendation for the food and beverage industry leaders. They start. If I am a company, a CEO of a company, CTO of a food and beverage company, where do I start looking into blockchain, and what are my best chances to get a good return of my investment?
Well, I think it's a conversation it's a great point to start. I think if I told someone go read these papers, I think it will be overwhelming. What I think is appropriate. I remember watching a couple of videos when internet was starting off, and people were like, what do we do with this internet thing, right? And I think, and as the application, as a person that understands technology, it'll be a handful of people, really a small group of people that will say, I'm interested in trying, I'm interested in learning. And as the use cases get flushed out, there'll be much greater adoption. That is how fusion of technology takes place. That is how innovation takes place. There'll be a handful of early adopters that are willing to understand, willing to take the risk, take those small steps forward, figure out what the kinks look like, and then can begin to explode in new direction. And it will constantly evolve. Blockchain is evolving all the time. New applications are evolving all the time on the blockchain. Very different from when I started working on it in 2018, 2017 to where it is right now. There's some applications we never thought would be there, and it's there. And so what we see as people start adopting, people start using, where that industry will shift and move to in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years is going to significantly change. And I think from a food security perspective, a couple of key players that are sensitive about food and sensitive about food security should consider looking at the technology and having a conversation.
Thank you. That's super helpful. Well, there you have it, folks. This was a conversation with Professor Dhirendra Shukla of the Faculty of Computer Science at the University of New Brunswick, also co-founder of Grey Wolf Analytics, a company that develops a solution based on blockchain. So my takeaways: blockchain is a digital technology. It's a digital ledger in which the data is encrypted, is secure, and it is accessible to those who are participating in that particular blockchain. It has a lot of applications in terms of traceability, and connecting different stakeholders in a supply chain or in a value chain. It is secure, and it is used widely across different sectors, different industries. So if you have questions, this was a conversation with the expert, please send it to us, and I'll be more than happy to relay them to Dhirendra, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you very much, Dhirendra.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, Nestor.